You know, like those community watchers, like they're doing a lot of stuff. They're not just like driving around screaming at ICE agents, despite all the comments. I think that's what's happening, dude. Like that's not like all they're doing. Like they're going to these family members' houses. Like imagine being the person to break to someone's wife that your husband just got taken at a Home Depot, dude.
Yeah.
Like these people are volunteering to do that because someone has to fucking do it. You know, that's their responsibility that they decided to take on.
Press the button to begin.
You're listening to The Social Primate with your host, Eddie Aguirre. And today we're joined by the powerful Izzy Ramirez. Izzy, thank you so much for making the time to come out here, man. Honestly, like it's been a crazy ass year. Like,
Yeah.
we can start with that, right? And especially with you guys. I mean, honestly, I want to start off by saying thank you to both of you and Memo. You recently took over Daily Memo for him while he's taking a vacation, I believe in December, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so, you know, since then, honestly, seeing that segment that you guys have been putting out has become like a pillar of reliability, I would say. At least for me it has, because it shows us the data that we're unable to see for ourselves, right? And I mentioned to you a little bit before the show that if I go outside right now of the station right here in Boyle Heights, I'm not seeing any activity per se, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. And I think the work that you guys have been doing, tracking and putting this information out there, it allows us to be able to get a better picture of what's going on and make the data real, right? So before we get started into that, what kind of led you to this type of work? What pulled you into this?
So, well, it's just complicated, very unorthodox. I never really aimed to be a journalist at all, actually. It started really when I went to the protest over in June. I was just doing what I could to fight, I guess, somehow about what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just a natural escalation. I just was a protester, really, and I started organizing a couple of things in Orange County because I'm from Anaheim. I quickly realized that protesting alone really isn't a lot. It's not, you're not going to accomplish much if you're just only protesting. You have to do other stuff. So some of the people out there introduced community aid to me and community watch. So I did a little bit of both. So there was people that had the Home Depot hubs. There was people that were driving around doing community watch, collecting plates and stuff like that. So it's what I started to do. And then I also just realized that there wasn't like a lot of unification. And Southern California is huge. I guess it's like a really large regional area. But in my head, it made sense that there was always going to be some kind of a pattern. Like if they're hitting Los Angeles really hard, I mean, they're probably going to come to Orange County at some point. So I thought it was important to keep track of all of it. So I started talking to a bunch of different watch teams. So it was like, hey, do you guys have the plates for this? Or have you guys noticed any patterns you think they're going to hit this week? And then I just started making these posts. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but it was just this like everywhere ICE is in SoCal.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that, I think, in like August. So when I started posting those on Instagram, I didn't realize that Memo was kind of doing the same thing. He was making like a video format of everywhere that they were. Yeah. And he started reposting them and we started talking. And basically he was just giving me like a choice. He's like, you can keep doing whatever you're doing, like all the protesting and all this stuff, or you can also just start some kind of a career where you have an impact and you can have a broader audience and tell people where ICE is. Because, I mean, we have the same mindset, I guess, that we don't, just because we don't see it in our neighborhood doesn't mean it's not happening. It is happening and it's escalating. It's not slowing down at all. It's all over the place, you know. You shouldn't wait till it hits your neighborhood. You should be aware of it happening before it gets to your neighborhood, you know. So it was just like a slow buildup of, I guess, like community activism. And then Memo was like, get the fuck out of there and come over here. You know? So, yeah, it was really interesting. Because before this, I was working 2 jobs. I was a waiter and I was making medical equipment. And then I was going to school, you know. So I was just doing a whole bunch of stuff. But now I can just focus on this.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It's interesting that you were basically thrown into all of this and you kind of just had to find your footing on top of having to figure out how to move around these individuals that are consistently violent against our people in the community, right? We're just talking about that early this morning. There was a video from Minneapolis where somebody got shot in the face. And then reports are coming in that I think they believe they might have passed. So that's still kind of, you know, coming now as the information's coming to us. But, we'll see what happens in the next couple of days. But again, I think it's very important to note that it just took we're just regular people to step into these roles where now there's people behind you trying to make sure that they stay up to date with the information, right? Because that information, whether we like it, those numbers or not, provide some sort of like sense of just awareness and security to an extent to protect the community, right? So going into this field now, like, has there been any influences that you have in regards to how you want to navigate this world?
I guess a little bit. Now that I'm doing this and I'm meeting more professional people and seeing how they interact and how they go about everything, I mean, at first I felt kind of restrained. I didn't feel like I could say everything that I wanted to say, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still kind of feel that way. I'm a little less anxious about it.
Yeah.
There's just like a line between, I guess, professionalism and being taken seriously and credible.
Yeah.
And then just sounding like an activist down the street. But I feel like we've blurred the line of what's reality and what's the truth, you know? Inspirational wise, they talk a lot about, Memo was referred to a lot as this guy named Edward Murrow. So I've looked at some of his stuff. I haven't seen his movie. I got to, but I've seen about this guy who used to report on MacArthurism, and he was a huge also during the Holocaust. So stuff like that is what's making me be more inspired to be less bordered, I guess, about how I talk about stuff like that. There's also a journalist named Jean Guerrero who wrote a piece called Unbordered Writing. So it's just those kinds of people just make me feel less anxious about how we talk about stuff. Because I mean, a huge part of a role, I think, isn't just alerting. It's just, and not even just maintaining awareness of it. It's also just kind of not normalizing it, but making sure that people are aware of how we're speaking about it. We're not saying people are being arrested. We're telling people that they're being unlawfully and constitutionally detained, and we're not afraid to say it because it's what's happening. Yeah. I mean, our job as journalists is to tell the truth. Why would we fall to the legs of legacy media who's scared to say that? I mean, they're being sponsored and they're being forced to say those things by those same people that they're reporting allegedly against. So it's just all those people, I guess, they're kind of revolutionary that aren't afraid of how they say things or what inspire me to do it. But yeah, just in the beginning, I felt like I had to be really specific and to not be seen as not credible, I guess. But I mean, this is different now. But those are the people that inspire me like crazy. You know, just these older journalists who've been doing this for a long time.
That's how we learn, right? We master our craft and we can chip away a little bit at it. But I think it's important too to note that you were, prior to this, you were on the ground. Like I've seen videos of you documenting ICE agents and being up in front of them as they're kidnapping people. Like, did you think that what you were doing then was going to turn into what you're doing now?
No, not at all. I did not think that at all. I thought I was going to keep doing that for a while. And I mean, I'd be lying if I said I miss it. I do. If I can go on patrol, I will. But since I have to work to do the article, it takes a lot longer than I think people think it is. We don't just type up an article and download videos. There's a lot more that goes into it. We're archiving everything.
Yeah.
You know, we want to have records of every single thing that's happening. So we're just doing, it takes hours, honestly. Even editing and getting all the clips together and making sure it looks fine, it takes hours. I'm not a video editor. I don't know anything about that stuff. It takes me about 2 hours to make the video and edit it and post it. And then I'm up at 9 to 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, making sure we have the links for people to see everything. It just takes longer than people, I think, really imagine it does.
Do you feel like there's a pressure to kind of focus on making sure that what you're presenting is fact-based rather than just having the pressure to, spit a video out just for the sake of trying to keep people informed? Like, how do you balance that?
It's just patience, really, and waiting. Because, I mean, if the thing that's, I guess, about it is if you make a mistake once, people really do hold it over your head, depending on who you are, But I try not to do that. It's just hard. I think what we're doing is so untraditional and so unprecedented. We're not, equipped really to have, a toolkit on how to do that. Because we're not just, even on top of verifying to make sure that something is really happening and maybe it wasn't, we're also just consistently witnessing this. It obviously pisses us off. I mean, I don't want to see that happen every single moment of my life. But I mean, it's just kind of what I have to do. So there's no toolkit for that. I guess it's just a lot of patience and waiting for other people to be able to verify it if they can. Yeah. If they really can't and I'm somehow in the area, then I'll try to. I mean, but it's impossible. I'm not going to be in Oxnard and then go to LA and then go to Santa Ana, in a single day. It's just not, it's not reality, but it's just a lot of patience waiting for other people to see if they can verify it. Because there's a lot of weird shit going on. There's people that'll post old photos and videos and make it seem like it's happening today. Right. There's been incidents where there's stopice.net. They had an incident where they had a DDoS attack before they started hitting down in the Bay Area, or not the Bay, the South Bay. And it's just stuff like that, little things. We just can't really do anything about it. We just have to wait. There's fake alerts. Sometimes ICE agents put fake alerts because they want to distract people. Yeah, it's insane. It's so bizarre. But it's just patience, I guess. And if I'm wrong, I usually say I'm wrong. I'm not really scared to say I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
be accountable. Yeah,
my prerogative is just to be truthful and be they're right here. I try to be vague. And I try to follow the salute thing that I got from when I saw it on people mention about it. That's how I originally started doing it. I would just put the salute and organize as best as I can. I just try to follow that and just be patient, I guess, is really all it is. I just try to enforce people to send videos and photos. It's really the best way to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And we also shouldn't be scared to take photos or videos. It's our constitutional right. You can't be arrested for it. It's just the most important thing to do. It's a huge part of community watch too. You know, if nobody's there to record it, how do we know what's happening? We don't know anything really.
Right. Yeah, you know, I think it's the way we reframed it right now is like the way you have to control the emotions, right? You got to be patient with the information you're getting, regardless of how that's making you feel. Like you have a responsibility at that point to make sure that the information you're giving out is what's actually happening, right? I had an experience last year or so where I was also on the ground and I was able to witness ICE, you know, speeding down the street while people were just dodging out of the way. And I remember just that emotional impulse that I got. It was just anger. Like I wanted to scream. I was like talking shit. Like just, you feel all these emotions just take over you, right? That it's hard to kind of keep a clear head. So, you know, I can only imagine that the people who are like yourself having to come face to face with this information on a daily, like again, that mental toll, that emotional toll that it takes on you. But I think, again, it shows how resilient you could be because, again, you have all that going on, but you have the responsibility to provide info, right, to the community. And I think that supersedes anything. Although, you know, I don't know how you necessarily deal with all that. Like, how have you balanced those emotions on yourself?
I mean, I don't know either. I don't know how I'm doing it. I don't know. I mean, it's just like a schedule, you know. If I really do feel like shit, I'll just kind of take the night off and go to a club or bar, just get a little drunk, you know, smoke a little weed. That's really it. It means there's nothing we can really do about it. I mean, there's no, like I said, there's no toolkit for any of this stuff at all. Nobody is teaching you how to deal with like state-sponsored brutality. And it's not new either, you know. It would be like foolish to say it's just now happening. It's been happening for years. You know, it's not our first time dealing with this. Like they did in the 20s, they did in the 50s, they did in the 90s, early 2000s, you know. It's all just a different take, too. I feel like there's people that think everything's kind of new in the idea of what community watch is, too. Like, I know the barrio has been around since, like, the 90s. A lot of this stuff started with Cop Watch. So it's all just been, like, transitioned differently. So I feel like even then, those people don't really know how to deal with it. Because how do you deal with seeing people get beat up and brutalized in the street, you know? And then those Asians are so, like, condescending. Like, they very brazenly don't care about what they're doing. So it's just complex, you know? But like you said, the responsibility of telling people what's happening just kind of supersedes that. I care more about making sure that people know what's happening and where it is than, I guess, how I really feel, you know? I mean, I'm pretty good at suppressing it, which isn't, like, necessarily good. And I'll deal with it in, like, 4 years, I guess.
4 years? Is it gonna crash on you? Like, or coming down on you?
Yeah.
Damn. Now, you know, and like, again, you mentioned that before you started doing Daily Memo, you were kind of working on getting this data together. Like, what kind of information are you collecting? Like, names, like badges, license plates? Like, can you tell the audience a little bit of what that looks like if they're on the ground and what they should be on the lookout for?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you're not alone. You know, you'd be with somebody else. But if you're alone, the importance is, you know, making sure that you go out to the person that's being grabbed and have them scream out a number. I try not to have them say their name. I kind of just want them to talk in general, though. They're scared, you know. I mean, they really don't want to reveal much. But just making sure that they have to scream out a name, it's kind of the priority to me first. Because we have it recorded, you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the name of who?
Oh, of anybody being, like, taken, you know.
Okay.
Like, I usually try to speak to them first. Or, you know, when I did Community Watch. But, yeah, after that, it's when I would go up to the agent and just kind of try to get a view of their face, you know, and see if they have a badge number. I mean, back then they really didn't. They kind of started to do it a little bit more often now, but back then they didn't have it at all. It was just really that, and I guess screaming at them.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? There's nothing you could do. You know, you're just kind of watching it unfold, especially if you're alone. But it was just really that. I mean, the advisory-wise, you should always ask the person that's being taken for some kind of information to reach their family. And then the purpose of recording it to begin with, I always knew it was mainly for courts. You want to have this information on video to send to these people's families in case they need it for court. So you, like, document yourself too, if you can, say, not yourself, but document yourself saying what day it is, what time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then have the person say whatever they have information about, how to contact their family. And then just kind of, I mean, from there, it's kind of your decision. You can scream at the ICE agent if you want, but you should try to get some information on the agents themselves so they can be sued. And some of them don't even wear masks, though. Like that Aaron guy, the one that's always in Long Beach. I mean, he came back yesterday. Like, we know him. So, I mean, there's some of those times it's really easy to just look at them and talk to them and get that information of them. But that's just really what I would do, you know. Try to get some badge number information about how they look just for future reference, too, you know.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. I mean, a couple months ago, I would drive around my neighborhood just to kind of get an idea of what's going on. And again, just whenever I did catch a glimpse of these ICE vehicles or just these federal vehicles just driving around, you can't help but to feel a type of way about it, right? And like, it's crazy because again, none of us have ever been trained to deal with any of these emotions, and just seeing this happen in your city, right? So, again, huge props to what you guys are doing, because nobody else is doing it. Like you said, mainstream media does a shit job at reporting this stuff, and if they do, they're right after the news segment, they have an ICE ad on TV, right? So you're like, come on, like. What message are you bringing out here?
Yeah, and it's always sensationalized. They just want to talk about the big stories, I mean, every single sighting is a story. They're all people, There's obviously going to be some stories that are more tragic than others, but fuck, dude, like, they're all people.
Yeah.
And they're all people that we, like, know. We've seen these people. These are, like, our neighbors, our family members. These are, like, our friends. These are the people that raised us, or, like, fuck, we're Latino. Like, we know these people. Mm-hmm. These are the people that sold this shit when we were kids, or would call us mijo or mija and stuff. Like, this is our culture,
Yeah.
And it's also so brazen how they're doing it too. I mean, they're directly attacking the workforce. They can't afford all these deportations. It's not feasible at all, and they always give this illusion that they're going to, but the whole idea is that they just want to remove the workforce to force the family to leave, and it's so obvious.
Yeah, dude, and that's crazy because it's like you said, it's the first step is to remove the person who is, for the most part, a lot of the times, is the primary income producer in the household, right? Mm-hmm. What happens after that? Like, you're left alone to kind of figure out what's going to happen next. And a lot of people are pushed to the point where they have to self-deport. Mm-hmm. And it's understandable why they want to go. But at the same time, like, the fact that they don't have the will to fight back because of that fear, that just tears me apart, because for me, as somebody who's a U.S. citizen and has the privilege, I think it's important for us to kind of remember that we have the opportunity to stand up for folks who can't, and to me, my resolve in that deepens because, again, I'm seeing family members affected by this, and the last thing I would want for them to do is just to give up so easily, right? But yeah, dude, it's crazy, man.
Beyond crazy. There's no words for it, really. I don't think anybody was ready. I mean, everybody kind of had an idea of something like this happening, but since it wasn't the first time he threatened to say all this stuff, I don't think anybody realized it was going to be this large of a capacity. And then it's also, I mean, there's a lot of guilt in doing this too, because I always feel like it's like just displaying trauma consistently, And I mean, I'm not the first person to do anything. There's people who have been doing this shit for like years, It's not like ICE Watch in general isn't like new, or Stop ICE, stuff like that. Like, it's not really new. I mean, people have been getting fucked up by ICE. I mean, my dad got detained by ICE in an operation when I was 10 years old. So it's not my first time seeing it either. I've seen like how huge and brutal they could be. Mm-hmm. But it was just different back then too. I mean, they released him, and he made his way back and he was able to get documented. It was just different, Yeah. There was at least like some like dignity in it, You could find some kind of dignity in it. But it's just not like that anymore. It's completely like militarized. It's just there's like no word for it. I could never find the words for it because you can't even describe it. Because we're not even just reporting on just like ICE sightings. We have Aisha, who also finds stories. I mean, there's people like that man who they took the baby. They shot someone in his shoulder. They were shooting at Richard L.A. That woman today got shot in the face. If that was here, she'd be like all over that story immediately, dude. And then we reported on the deaths over in Adelanto. Like, there's just so much happening, all the time. And we're such a small team, but we're trying to get like as much out there as we can, But I mean, it's impossible because, like I said, every single sighting is a story. These people, or like, there's a reason that they're at that job. There's a reason that they're not documented. Mm-hmm. There's a reason they're working 2 jobs. There's a reason that they got attacked at the Home Depot. Like, there's so many different reasons for why they're doing what they're doing and why they're there. And it's like it's just fucked up stories. All of them. They're sad.
Yeah.
There's no other way for it. There's a lot of hope. There's obviously people fighting, but like our end specifically, it really is just like tragedy, I guess. Not like in a sad way. I mean, I like doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But. I mean, the way I've always described it too was just I don't like wake up expecting tragedy, being apprehensive about it. Like, it just is, like, it's just always there no matter what, which is fine because someone has to do it, Yeah. And Memo's fucking been doing it a little bit longer than I have. I think he started doing it in July. I started collecting all the info in like late August, so a little bit longer than
Now, have you noticed, or like, how will you deal with the fatigue people get? Just feeling like it's happening so much, you stop caring. Like, what can you tell me about that?
Oh, do people become like apathetic from
Yeah.
how much they see? You got to take a break.
Yeah.
It's really all it is. I've been feeling like that too lately, where I'm like realizing I'm kind of desensitized a little bit almost, because I just see it so much. Like when I look at that shot today in my head, I was like, oh wow, that sucks. Like, what the fuck? And then like when I sit down thinking about it, I'm like, oh wow, that's like actually genuinely like horrible. Like that's super fucking horrible.
Yeah.
But it's just we just see this so much all the time that I guess like forget how really like evil some stuff is.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to take a break. Like you kind of have to, because if you don't reset, then you're kind of just like stuck in this fight or flight mode, I guess, consistently.
Yeah, every day again, 24/7.
Yeah, and if you don't leave it, then you just kind of slowly go like a little crazy, you know, because you're just. I mean, there's we see it too. I mean, we've seen activists out that kind of like lose their mind a little bit. You know, they start kind of tripping.
Yeah.
And you got to. I mean, you got to take a break. You know, you can't be fighting all the time. You know, it's just not realistic. You know, like the burnout that everyone says is real is really real. Because I used to be like, nah, burnout, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, no, like it's real.
It's real now.
It's
Now, I was just telling you, you know, I took a break from the show for a couple months, 2-3 months, for the same thing. Like you start realizing like your body's feeling a different way, like mentally, there's a brain fog, like a mind fog type of deal. And you realize that like the lines become blurry, right? So I had to step away, spend time with my family, with my kids, and reconnect with the fact that I'm at the end still human and I need to have these moments, right? It needs to balance it out. And then at the same time, that only makes, again, going back to the resolve, a little stronger, because now I feel I know what I'm fighting for and I know what I want, why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? And it's for the people around me. And I think that's a key to kind of keep re-energizing yourself.
Yeah, you got to keep inspiring yourself. And we're still people. We're still human no matter what. You know, we obviously can't be around tragedy always. It can't always be tragedy. But yeah, no, I mean, we witness it all the time. There's even been, I interviewed that activist, Eddie, from Mexico, and I like how he worded one of the key aspects of it. He was like, activism, all this stuff is like a choir, you know, and if someone has to step back, like it's hopefully the responsibility of the rest of the people to keep singing, you know?
Yeah, right.
Because if you don't, I mean, you're supposed to be a team, you know, and there's a lot of hope, you know? My main job really is like reporting on tragedy. I don't want it to like always be tragedy, but there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of people fighting. There's a lot of shit going on that people don't talk about, because I mean, some stuff you're only going to see if you go out there, you know, like those community watchers, like they're doing a lot of stuff. They're not just like driving around screaming at ICE agents, despite all the comments. I think that's what's happening, dude. Like that's not like all they're doing. Like they're going to these family members' houses. Like imagine being the person to break to someone's wife that your husband just got taken at a Home Depot, dude.
Yeah.
Like these people are volunteering to do that because someone has to fucking do it, you know? That's their responsibility that they decided to take on. There's just so much out there, you know?
And this is stuff we don't see, you know? Like we don't have videos, or I mean, not that you need videos of that, because, you know, this is emotionally heartbreaking for a lot of those folks. So like you can't just create content out of that either. Like, so like, I love how you put that, because again, those are things that we're unable to see, like the stuff we're not seeing in the background, you know? Now, for, you know, moving a little bit into what you've kind of noticed doing these reports, like what have you noticed, like in terms of patterns in the presence, like locations, timing, like methods that you've been seeing? Like what can you tell us about that?
Well, it really depends on your location. Like San Bernardino County, Riverside County, Inland Empire, they get a lot of ICE agents. They do have the occasional border patrol. Their ICE raids have always been super violent. They've escalated for sure, but they've always had such violent tactics out there. Yeah. That's where I started seeing them do a lot of the window breaking really early on. So I think that they've been pretty equipped on finding maneuvers on how to handle it. But I know that for sure, that a lot of the violent stuff kind of starts outside, like in the outskirts of major cities. That's how it was in like June, July, because they were smashing windows over there in Riverside already. But then they slowly started doing that in Los Angeles. But I'm sure everyone already saw it, but they wanted to start replacing some of the ICE field directors with Border Patrol. So ICE for a little bit, for like 2 months probably, kind of just started doing these targeted operations. And the targeted operations are really like weird and dark. Like these people will literally stalk you for like weeks. Like they'll be outside of your house with their vehicles and they'll be recording you. And they don't just record you, they also record audio of you speaking, hoping that you say something incriminating. Because all that stuff people talking about the surveillance that is very real. Like they have the equipment to pick up on conversations. So if you're like in a specific targeted operation by ICE, they don't just like show up at your house if they find out where you live. They also record audio when you leave. They'll follow you and see if you say anything about your status. And then they'll use that audio against you in court. Because as soon as you leave private property in the state of California, there's a penal code, not a penal code, a law. There's no right to reasonable privacy in public settings when you have conversations. Anybody could record you in public if you're not on private property. So if you're like at a Home Depot parking lot and you're a day laborer, you know, they can record you speaking from wherever they are with whatever equipment they have. And if you say anything about being undocumented, like that's all they need. As soon as they have that audio, they can submit it to their courts, and then they can go and grab you. And then they can base that whole operation specifically about you and grab anybody else as collateral until they start grabbing the other jornaleros that are also with you based on the reasonable suspicion that they're all undocumented. So they find all these like tiny excuses to do this stuff, you know. But that's like ICE, Border Patrol. They don't really do super deep dive investigations. They're the ones that are doing, you know, a lot of window breaking, chasing people.
Yeah, the aggressive.
The Kavanaugh stops, you know, where they're like, this group of brown people looks like they don't really speak English, so I'm going to go up to them and talk to them. As soon as you start like backing away, they're like, oh, that's reasonable suspicion. Why are you backing away? And all of a sudden, a whole team of agents start coming out. And they start grabbing everybody. But there is a pattern to it. They always follow streets specifically. Like if they were to come to, like say they go to downtown and they're like on 8th and I don't know, like 8th and Grand or something. They'll follow one of those specific streets and then just loop it into another city. Like they go all the way down Grand or some shit and then go to a city over. Maybe they'll hop, I don't know, maybe to like Studebaker and then go to Whittier. Like they just kind of follow these roads and they'll leak into the bus stops. They'll go to like maybe a Home Depot or two. Yeah. They also started doing recycling centers a lot a couple months ago. So they'll go to the recycling centers, the car washes. Like if you see them, Border Patrol at your intersection, like you should pretty much keep in mind that they're gonna follow one of those roads and they're not gonna like deviate. They're gonna follow it. They're gonna go into specific places. Like if you're at an intersection and there's a car wash 2 blocks down, you should give them a fucking call. Yeah. Like, hey, ICE is 2 blocks away. And then call the other one 2 blocks from down the road, the other one around the other way. You know what I mean? They follow those roads because, I mean, they're not from here. That's really the only way they can do shit. I'm assuming they map stuff out. Yeah. And then they just kind of have an idea of where they can go, but they don't, like, know these areas. Yeah. So they have to follow, like, really major roads because it's the only way for them to really maneuver around. Yeah. And they have to find a way to get out quickly because they don't want to be recorded. They don't want to be documented. So they'll find any way to get onto the freeway as soon as possible. And then they have to find a large area to process people. Usually they go to like really public places like malls. Sometimes they'll go to city halls, which is really weird. But then they'll also go to like libraries. Like they've been seen at the Huntington Beach Library in Orange County to process people. So that's like the anatomy of it, really. It hasn't changed too much, aside from the fact that they're very violent. Especially like yesterday when Border Patrol came back, they were super violent.
And sorry, real quick, just to clarify on the process, you said the process people, what does that mean exactly?
It's so when they start taking photos of you, they start getting your information down and they submit it over to the ICE field office. That way they can start getting your deportation ready if you sign for it. But it's just that, so they start taking your photo and then they do the transfer, so they'll take you from their vehicle that they put you in into the Sprinter vehicles that you could probably see in those vans.
Damn. Yeah, man, that's hardcore. Now, in terms of the people that you see getting taken, is there like a specific age group that you see them targeting? Like, what information can you give us that can, help us protect those vulnerable?
It's always older. They can't run. They want people that aren't gonna like put up any kind of restraint. Yeah, it's people that just don't really speak English too well. Even if they do have papers, you don't even know English to get papers either. Yeah. Like that's not how it works. It's always just older individuals. Like you figure that older offender, if you're really young, they don't really go after you. I mean, they have, but those are usually like specific like HSI or ICE operations where they want like specific people. Or if you're a community watcher and you happen to be around and you do something that they think is obstruction. But in terms of like raids, it's just older Latinos, the older workforce. So like the fruit vendors, the jornaleros at Home Depots. They literally just grab anyone that looks older. Because I don't know how much has been talked about it, but even like Home Depot raids, there's been a lot of customers that have been taken. Just because they're stepping out into a raid and they're older Latinos and they don't English too well, but they'll just grab them. Like I said, they use the word collateral because they just happen to be around when it happened. But it's just always older Latinos, There seems to be like a specific for male, but there's a lot of females, a lot of women that get taken too. I think it just depends on the area. Like obviously at the Home Depot parking lot, there's a lot of men, or jornaleros, but they still take anybody that's older. Like if there happens to be loncheras there, they'll take the loncheras. Like we've seen that before. They'll take people who just happen to be there giving out food. You have this is older. There's really no other way to say they want it to be easy.
Yeah.
You know, so they'll go for anybody that doesn't look like they can really do anything, you know. And they really can't. Like we've seen so many fucked up videos, you know, where these older people are running away and they fall, they hurt themselves.
They're
just
tackled
also,
or shit.
yeah, they get tackled. And that's also an issue too, where there's just so much to do. There really is. There's so many different roles. I feel like everyone thinks everything is so grand and large, but there's not. Like there's so many things that people need, you know, like the whole medical aspect of it too. They're scared to go get medical help. Yeah. Sometimes they do get away and they have a huge gash on their head, but they can't go to the fucking clinic. Yeah. And they don't know what to do. I don't know what to do either. I asked my nurse friends what they can do. They didn't tell me anything. Because, I mean, nobody wants to really fucking do anything. But there's just different roles. Not everything is so, like, huge. Not everything has to be, like, this grand thing. You're not going to go to jail for babysitting some community watcher's nephew or something, you know, so they can go do their thing. Like, there's just so much to do. But, yeah, it's just mainly older. If you can't really do anything to get away, you're going to be a target, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Man. The fact is, like, that racial profiling is real. You know, you can be walking. My suegra is scared for me. She was like, hey, make sure you don't go to these places because they'll take you. And in my head, I'm just like, let them fucking take me. Like, the hell? Like, well, you know, do a podcast episode on it and you'd get more info. But I'm not scared, right? But it's because, we go back to that privilege thing I mentioned earlier. But everybody's dealing with it in completely different ways, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, that's a good way to put it. It's just trauma. Even if you're not doing anything, you are traumatized because you know it's happening.
Yeah,
But you're dealing with it by ignoring it. And it's just, I don't know, dude. The people I've talked to have already mentioned really well that it's kind of the time to snap out of that, of being frozen. You know, you can't ignore this forever. And then I always tell people, too, like, what are you going to do when they do come to your doorstep and they do try to take your mom? Like, there's no guarantee that we're going to be here. We don't know what the administration is going to do to us. Yeah. We don't know what their plan is, you know. I mean, they just shot a community watcher in the face today. Like, we really don't know what they're going to do, you know. Yeah, no, it's horrible. It is just trauma. And then it makes me feel so worried for the youth right now because, like, the trauma that we had, I guess, when we were younger was, like, the expectation that ICE could take somebody that we know at any point. But, like, for them, it's just not, like, an expectation now. It's just, it's happening. Yeah. Like, it's here already. Like, when we went over to Santi High School, dude, like, those kids were just, like, so... Like, I don't like how media portrays them. Like, a lot of the high school protests, they make it seem so medial. Like, they're just, like, kids being stupid, but they're not. Like, you go up to them. Yeah, but you go up to them, you interview a handful of them, dude, and they're, like, so, like, sad, and they're so traumatized, and they really don't know what to do, which is also what sucks, because a lot of them don't know the history about Los Angeles. Los Angeles had the moratorium, dude. They had the biggest school walkouts, like, all over the nation, all puro Chicanos, old Latino kids, dude. Like, it's like in their blood to do that kind of thing. Like, they have the capacity and they have the numbers and the strength to do it, but they just don't know how to do it yet, you know? It's not taught.
Yeah, right. And there's no real way right now for them to kind of get activated. You know, and it's a great point that you brought up right now. A couple months ago, there was a walkout. My son, I have a 13-year-old kid. He walked out. It was one of his first protests that he walked out of school for. And I was proud as fuck, man, because, you know, I walked out back in 2005, back in high school. We had the big walkouts. I walked out, you know, and, like, I mentioned this before. Like, I, for sure, at the beginning, I had no idea why I was walking out. Just my homies were walking out. And that's understandable. I can see why media could portray it that way and why people will see it that way. But the thing is, once you become exposed to that, like, it starts, you know, opening up curiosity, and you're like, why am I here? Like, what are we doing here, you know? And to me, that carried me, dude. I'm 35 years old now. Like, 20 years into this, like, it triggered something in me that allowed me to kind of keep pushing for information and kind of educating and, you know, just doing something with action for my community. So seeing my son exposed to this and seeing all these other kids doing the same thing in Southgate a couple months ago, I did some interviews with them. And, dude, these kids, the way they will talk about what's going on and what they would like to see, like, you would think you're talking to a grown-ass adult. Yeah. You know? And that's the thing, like, we forget that these kids are capable of these critical thinking skills if we allow them and give them a platform to kind of discuss what's going on and help them understand it, you know? So, yeah, you know, you mentioned the Santi stuff, and same thing, like, it changes what you know of what people can feel in regards to this, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, it's just conditional. Like, they're conditioned to be, like, a certain way, you know? And the same way that we were conditioned to be a certain way, you know? Like, it'd be ignorant to say, like, I wasn't smoking weed and doing stupid shit in high school.
Yeah.
But that stuff was, like, imposed on me. I grew up in a really underprivileged brown community. I mean, we didn't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I was ever going to go to college. I didn't think I was ever going to really do anything like this, you know? And it's just, like, a thought in the back of your head. So these kids, like, grow up thinking that. And so when they start witnessing, like, literal state terror, I think it just does something to them that's, like, indescribable. You know, like, I couldn't imagine how it must feel being 15, you know? I mean, realistically, I would have been out doing something just because I've always been really vocal about how I feel about this stuff. But it's all just historical, you know? I hope that they do something for the kids. I feel like we forget about teenagers a lot, you know? Like, they're the ones that are being directly affected because it's their parents being taken away, and they need them the most, you know? Like, if they were to take one of my parents, you know, if they were undocumented, I mean, I have the money to go out there and figure something out. You know, I might be able to sponsor somehow to get a lawyer. But I mean, how the fuck are you going to do that if you're like 14 years old, dude?
Yeah, right.
I interviewed this kid over in Oxnard. They took his mom during the Glass House Farms raid. And then 4 months later, they took his dad, dude. Like, how the fuck do you even recover from that? How do you manage that, dude? They took your parents, you know, and then you're alone with your siblings. Like they don't have the capacity to try to figure anything out, really, you know. All they can do is ask for help, you know, instead of like being help, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't know, we just don't talk about them a lot, I feel. You know, we kind of overlook it, but shit, you know, they need a lot of guidance.
Yeah.
Especially because this is historical. It's not the first time that teenagers have stepped up to do something.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's where it stands. And I really do hope that there's a way that they can kind of, you know, find a way to just get together. You know, we got to see past the superficial stuff that we're used to on a daily day. But yeah, man, like, I had a question in regards to how community has responded to your work, or just the work that you and Memo have been doing through Daily Memo and, of course, Daily Taco. What have you heard from the community in regards to that? Like, do you get pushback? Do you get, like, praise for it?
I feel like it's mostly praise.
Yeah.
There's, like, a couple people, I guess, have an issue with it, but I mean, it's kind of
With the reporting and, like...
Yeah, you know, people that think it's like trauma porn and stuff, you know. I didn't really experience it early on until I started working with the Daily Memo. I think just because it's amplified now.
Yeah.
There is a lot of pressure. I try not to make shit so depressing or even just like be so violent all the time, because I know it can be triggering. It's just, I don't know, pushback really, it's mainly just that, like the trauma, being so like brazen about it, you know. But even then, like, how I don't know how to, like, else to show it. I mean, I'm not gonna hide it or obscure what's the truth. I mean, our whole prerogative as journalists is to tell you the truth. You know, like, if you know that we're consistently putting stuff that's traumatic, then maybe you should find other outlets that are different. That's also why I do the plain text posts. I mean, you don't necessarily have to see the videos. I've seen people comment that before, actually, that they were like, I appreciate the plain text everywhere I was, because I don't want to see these videos anymore.
Yeah.
No, so there's different ways to see it, you know. I mean, I try to give a little bit of everything. We have the videos, but then I have the plain text posts. But it's mostly appreciation, you know. I wouldn't say praise. I mean, people do like praises. I appreciate it. But I mean, I'm just one person that did something. I mean, I'm not the only one either. And I'm not alone. I mean, all those community watchers are on the ground, you know. I was on the ground at some point too, but it's just my roles just changed. And there's people that have been doing this for like ever, you know. They've been doing this for months, and some of those people that have been doing this since June have been doing stuff that's similar for like years, you know. Like, there's some people from Santana that I've met. They've been doing this shit since like 10 years. They've been doing cop watch, and they just, you know, went from cop watch to having to do ice watch. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. So just, you know, if people do give me appreciation, I also want to mention that there's just so many people out there are giving us the information just for like always being there. Their whole life is like doing fucking ice watch, you know.
Damn, man. Just to get a little information about the process of how you get this information, but how do you verify? Like, what pressure do you have when you're getting all these tips, all this information? Like, how do you sort through all of this?
Fuck, it's hard. I don't do it alone, you know. A lot of it behind my page specifically is alone, but verifying it's I wouldn't say it's a process. It's just a lot of communication. Like, we have chats that are central that we use where I try to communicate with as many people as possible. Since people do community watch in their specific area, they kind of have the advantage of just focusing on like what's happened within their specific city, and so they have the time to go get plates. They'll go up in person, and they'll tell me they went up in person and have videos. So they'll be like, I went to this person's location, we saw ice, we got a plate, We talked to the family. We know that 2 people were taken. One of them was released. They're at the ice field office now. So stuff like that. So that's the like ideal way for me to get that information. But they can't get everything, obviously. So sometimes I'll see videos on Instagram or TikTok, and I'm like, fuck, this happened today. And so I'll send it to them. And if they're not able to go out, then I'll message the person that like posted it, hoping that maybe they can give me some information. But usually like the criteria I have in my head is like have some kind of footage, you know. And if they don't, like I don't like give them shit for it. But I mean, realistically, you should be documenting this because it's not just for posting. Like we have to save this. The people that got taken, they need that for court at some point. Like it can really help people out. But that's the criteria is always that like I want to have at least some kind of footage. And if you didn't get a footage of the person being taken or the ICE agent itself, at least get a photo of the plate. You should always get a photo of the plates of the vehicle. That way in my head I can rule out whether it was sheriffs or if it was some kind of a joint operation with all like local enforcement, because it does happen. And then local laws is different everywhere. So I keep that in mind too, because the way that narcotics division works in Los Angeles kind of looks like ICE as opposed to how it looks in like San Bernardino. Like when they were over in Hollywood, when they went to that gay club, it was a sheriff narcotics operation, and one of them was like masked up, and the vehicles weren't California exempt. They were just regular cars with regular plates. So, and like in my head, if I were to see that, I think ICE. Yeah. But like when you like look into it and you have more photos and you have more of an understanding of how local law works in that city, then you can like rule that out. That way you don't freak people out thinking that ICE just raided a club at 2 a.m. in fucking North Hollywood, you know. But that's really that. It's just photos, communicating, trying to rule out the possibility of like fake ones, because there's so much footage. Yeah. And sometimes people do, for some reason, post like old shit saying it happened today. I don't know why.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, and that is weird, you know, like I get it, because sometimes there's so much happening that certain things get lost, but it is not doing anything for the people who are trying to document it and get a scope of what is happening now, right?
Yeah. Especially because a lot of people do respond to those alerts. Like, people show up, dude. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of people ready. Not a lot, but there's people ready that show up, you know? So it's important. You know? I know sometimes that people probably post old stuff thinking that didn't happen today. Maybe it's not their fault. But, I mean, that's also why I do talk to them, you know? It's just a lot of it is last minute too. I mean, sometimes like, I do feel anxious. I'm like, fuck, like I need to get this information out, because it feels like some sightings just feel so like intense when you see them in video. You're like, fuck, like people need to see this, and then you post it, and then I realized later that like, oh, this wasn't even fucking from today. It happened in like Minnesota, fucking a month ago. You know, it is hard because there's so much stuff like that comes in, especially with Border Patrol. Border Patrol's there's just a lot of people send photos of them like at intersections, and I try to like, I'll post it, but then I'm also like trying not to like think too much about it, because it's not really like a raid. They just happen to be at the intersection on their way to somewhere. I'm like, that's what I'm looking for when they do stop somewhere, so we can let people know that like, yeah, they drove from here to here. I mean, we know that they were at that intersection, but it's just more important to know that they hit this car wash and then made their way to this recycling center and split up and went to 2 different places. Like that kind of is more ideal, I guess, to look for than just those individual cars, you know. So it's also like filtering through that, because I get a lot of footage of that, of just like a car on the highway. Like, yeah, it's concerning. It's more concerning like on the context. Yeah. Like if it's a Border Patrol vehicle from Terminal Island and they're with like 6 other vehicles and they're going to Orange County, like, yeah, that for sure, you should let us know about that. But if it's just like one car, like that's not even really scouting, they're just like driving back and it's in the middle of a raid, like you should wait to send it, like see where it goes first, you know, because we don't know what they're doing. They might not even really be doing anything, because there's still, like I said, there's some people that work there that they just collect footage, that they're just, all they're doing is recording everybody around them to have more information about like what's happening around the raids and on the committee watches,
like scouting or something.
Yeah, like they're just being vigilant about all that stuff. And there's also a lot of them collecting, like I said, audio. Like they want to hear people say something incriminating. That's what they want. They can use it against you at any point. Fucked. Yeah, and then it's all just historical too. Like they used to do stuff like this back then during the civil rights movements, but they didn't just like find one thing and go to you. They built a case around you to make it as strong as possible to prosecute you. Yeah. So it's why you should also be careful what you say.
Yeah, kind of like the COINTELPRO or stuff. Like,
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Yeah. Dude. Now, I don't know if you can answer this, but what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding for people outside of LA in terms of what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people hide behind the privilege of being documented. And the reality is that they're not just going after the undocumented. Yesterday they hurt an older man that was selling fruit in Santana. He has papers. He has a permit to sell that. They handcuffed this man. His circulation got cut off. The handcuffs were so tight because they don't even know what they're doing. They couldn't even get the handcuffs off, dude. Like, they got stuck. He had to go take him to the hospital. They tackled the documented guy in his lawn yesterday, dude. Like this isn't, like, you're not immune.
Yeah.
Like, it's a piece of paper. Like, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for older, brown, with an accent. And we already know, we've seen it before, that you show them your papers and they'll be like, it's fake. It's not real.
Yeah.
You know? And they've done it to me too before. Well, not that specifically, but they used to have this habit of grabbing people's identification and breaking it or throwing it and be like, it's not real. And they try to do something similar to me. So I guess it's just like a class consciousness thing. When you like see it up front, it's easier to like know it's happening, but it is happening. Whether or not it's happened to you, you shouldn't wait for it to happen to you.
Yeah.
Because at that point, what the fuck are you gonna do if nobody's around? You know. But it's I think that's just a misconception that people still think, like, oh, I'm not illegal.
Right.
Like, dude, it's not even, that's not what a Kavanaugh stop even is. It doesn't say anything about being undocumented. It's saying Spanish accent, seemingly Mexican, and brown and older, because it's easier to not get away for older. You know, that's what they're looking for. It's detaining now and questioning later.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
And then, the consequences of that fall on the person who's getting taken at the end of this, right?
Yeah.
They just wash their hands, but like, oh, we fucked up. You know, but the person carrying that trauma, again, like we mentioned again, is the individual getting taken and the family being impacted, right? When you step back from all this data, the footage, and everything that you've been in the forefront of, like, what do you hope this work gives to the community?
well, hope. And also, like, an education, you know, this shouldn't be like the end point for you, you know. Like I said, like, when I was starting, it was protesting, and it led to this, you know. And I've kind of found like what my assignment is in all of this. There's so much to do, and you shouldn't just like see this and think that like your only option is to just repost it. Like, there's literally so much to do, and not everything is so, like I said, brazen and out there. Like, there's also community aid. There's like, those families do need help. There's nobody really there doing aftercare. I met this girl named Vanessa she goes to Tijuana and she meets with some of these people that get deported, and she goes on live and tries to collect funds for them to get plane tickets to go back to their original pueblo. Because when you get sent to Tijuana, I think you only have like 48 hours in the facility before they're forced you to leave. You just have 2 days. Not everyone can collect shit in 2 days, dude. Like, some people don't even have family. I mean, like, what are they going to do? So, like, the whole aftercare is really important. But there's also just like regular community aid. Like, there's just a lot of hope. There's a lot that you can do, you know? It's not hopeless. It's never been hopeless. We've never been hopeless people. Mexicans are not hopeless. They were fucking like always like uppity and ready to do something, but you just got to reshift about like what that means, you know. Like, it's not time to go party at the clubs every other weekend, you know. Things are different, you know. At some point, that club's not going to be around anymore. Like, you know, there's a lot of hope, and it's just like snapping out of it. Things are just really different. America's different, and everybody's acting like it's not, but it is. It's different for everybody, you know, even for white people, you know. It's like a whole like culture war, and things are not the same, and you can't keep pretending that. So I hope they can, at least from whatever we do, they do see like hope, because we do talk about hopeful stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's happening that's fucking phenomenal. You know, like I said, that girl going out to Tijuana, just huge, strong watch teams like VC Defensa. There's Defensa Santa Ana. There's the Lucha Hubs over in Orange County.
Lucha Hubs, yeah.
Yeah, there's so much like strength and love and hope. Like, it's not over. It's only the first year. The first year is finished. You know, you still have 3 years to try to make a name for yourself, so you can tell hopefully, if you're going to be superficial, at least have a story to tell people in the future that you didn't just like do nothing.
Exactly.
You know, like shit.
Yeah, because you will remember this. We are going to remember this, and I think you put it together real nicely there. Like, people are still kind of trying to ignore what's happening as if it's something that's not going to change the way that we perceive society. And again, I personally don't want to be the guy who's 70 years old and reminiscing back on this time and be like, damn, like, I let this happen. This kind of happened. Like, personally, it doesn't sit well with me. Like, it doesn't sit well with me, you know, and I respect those other folks who are going out of their way to do more for the community.
Yeah, more than more, dude.
Yeah.
There's the watchers that have to tell these people that their family's gone. Like, that's the hardest role. Yeah, right. They do like have some of them have there's no toolkit for that. How do you? Yeah, they just do it. You know?
Damn, Izzy, dude, thank you so much for making the time to come out and having this conversation with me. I hope the audience gets just a little bit of your process and just kind of what fuels you and then what we can do together, because at the end of the day, I think if we open conversation up to more people, some of our, what we're feeling kind of gets a little eased a little bit. I definitely would say that, especially when I'm, talking to you today. It gives me a better sense of what is happening on the ground on your end as somebody who's with an outlet, but also as somebody who was on the ground, ready to just help people out, man. So, dude, thank you for everything you've been doing. And shout out to the whole team over at LA Taco as well.
Yeah, subscribe to LA Taco, please.
For people, if they want to find you, where can they check you out?
My Instagram page. So it's Izzy Myers Ramirez, but I just take off the R-A. So IZZYMIREZ. Yeah. Or on LA Taco. Just LA Taco Instagram.
Awesome, man. Well, with that, we're going to be signing off. Everybody else, we'll see you next week. And we'll check you guys out on the next one. Izzy, peace out.
Thank you for having me, man.